Hi, I'm Andy. Welcome to the Inspired Money Podcast, where we explore positive stories to shift our perspectives on money. I'm your host and financial advisor at Runnymede Capital Management. If you're new to our channel, please subscribe and hit the bell to get notifications of future videos. We publish interviews like this one every Tuesday. Have you ever noticed how entrepreneurship is glamorized on people's social media highlight reels? I've talked to and worked with many entrepreneurs, and the real world takeaway is that it's a roller coaster. In episode 172, Biography said,
I think it's such a roller coaster. The highs are high, the lows are lower.
The highs are high and the lows are lower. He co-founded Elance that eventually became Upwork and went public. Today we're talking with Brendan Shu. Brendan and his business partner Colby Johnson created a company called Aerial Canvas, an all-in-one marketing agency that helps real estate agents. From aerial drone services, 3D home tours, virtual staging and web designs, to professional photography, videography, and social media campaigns, Aerial Canvas is transforming how real estate agents and their customers are using technology to buy and sell houses. In this episode, you'll hear Brendan's 10-year entrepreneurial journey, how Aerial Canvas saw very, very dark, uncertain days at the beginning of the pandemic to having its best year ever. And watch to the end to hear Brendan's view on risk-taking, including hearing what he owns in his personal investment portfolio. By the way, he only owns 2 names. Now let's get inspired with Brendan Shu. Brendan, welcome to Inspired Money. I'm so excited to have you on the show.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm very excited myself.
Let's jump right in. What's your earliest childhood memory of money?
I would say the first time that money really came to the top of my mind is when I had like my classmates with Game Boys and Pokemon cards, and I'm just like, how do I get that? And then there was also like a school store where they sold like Yorks and Twizzlers for like 25 cents, 10 cents, and like gum. And so I remember just thinking how I could acquire money, and how I could actually buy things that I wanted. And that's when money first came to the top of my mind. Like, how do I get more Pokemon cards? And one thing I wish my parents did differently, which other kids in my age group had, were like getting paid for chores. I feel like I was a little spoiled growing up. I would have happily done chores for money, and I'm surprised I didn't make that deal myself, asking my parents, hey, if I do this, can I get paid? And I had pretty generous parents who did end up buying me Pokemon cards and a Game Boy. So that was my first interaction with, and like the first time I conceptualized money is like, I can acquire this currency and buy things I want that excite me.
That's cool. You had some challenges when you were young. What was that like?
Yeah, I definitely had challenges growing up. I would say the family I grew up in was quite dysfunctional in ways. My parents fought a lot about silly things, and I also got kicked out of my house for arguing with my dad, and I would have to stay at my friend's place, and I would have to stay at my grandmother's, sometimes for a few days, sometimes for even up to 2 weeks. And I think it made me strong, and it made me into the person that is okay with living in the abstract or unknown, like, where am I going to be tomorrow? And how do I be the best person I am? Because if my dad wasn't wanting to have me at my home, how do I make a new home for myself? And, my friends' parents, fell in love with me. I was just always super respectful as a guest. And I think it's definitely added to who I am as a person. I think a lot of people, they grow up blaming their situation, saying, oh, well, I didn't have this growing up. This happened to me. But I think those who have truly triumphed in life are those who have taken those challenges and made them into their biggest strength. Because when you're faced with hardship, it's the time that you can grow the most. And I've heard this saying before. I think it was from a TV show or just online. When you ask for patience from God, God gives you kids. When you ask for strength, God gives you challenges. So I'm not too religious myself. I'm more agnostic, but it definitely hits home when it comes to, oh, that makes a lot of sense. Like you have to. The only way to grow is to have that tension over time.
How do you think that shaped you to be the entrepreneur that you are today? And when did you realize that you had an interest in business?
The first time I had a true interest in business, I mean, let's go back to my childhood. I would say like I've always been interested in business, in the sense I was always interested in the world. I remember the long drives to Chinese school on Friday nights. I think we drove like 30 minutes to go to a nearby town called Chelmsford in Massachusetts, all the way from Lexington. And I would always just ask questions along the ride. What is this? Why is this way? And I think that's the most important quality of a good entrepreneur is ask why things are the way they are and think about how they could be better. And then when it came to like high school, I was involved in business plan competitions through this great organization called TIE, the Young Entrepreneurs, where they held like weekly seminars where they brought in like tech leaders as well as seasoned corporate like managers to teach us in high school what it's like to be an entrepreneur. And I wrote a business plan in I think junior year of high school that I turned in my level 400 class in college 5 years later. And not to discount the value of college, but we got an A-, and all I did was change the names on the paper.
That's funny. We won't tell your professor that now.
No, you probably shouldn't. It'll be quite. It either means I was a prodigy in high school, which I don't think I was, because I did underperform my peers in class oftentimes. But it also could mean, college isn't all that it's made out to be. In some of the classes, you could fare better doing, learning on YouTube or something.
Well, kudos to you for your creativity in repurposing. I saw that you graduated from college in 2012. What happened in your first couple of jobs?
So that's a great question. So after college, I did take 2 jobs that were pretty much close to minimum wage. The first job was at Verizon Wireless. It was a authorized reseller, and I worked at the mall, and I worked at a kiosk or like a store that was inside a Meijer, which is like a Walmart. And there was super low foot traffic, and even though I was pretty confident in my sales skills at that time because I was pretty social, I definitely did not perform to like above my peers. One, because I got like the worst shifts in my opinion, and that's kind of how you always have to start in any sort of corporate job. I feel like you have to do the work that no one else wants to do oftentimes. And I got let go, I think, after 6 months. Their company was slowly downsizing. And afterwards, I interviewed with a local computer shop called Simplified Computers. And, with my qualifications in like, I built computers on my own, as well as understood like the hardware and software side of things. I got that job as well. It was like $10 an hour. Nothing too spectacular, but a minimum wage out in Illinois then was around $8.25, I believe, maybe even less. I think maybe $7.50, and it went pretty well. And after 6 months, I transitioned out. I think the owner felt like I wasn't going to be there forever, and I told him even going in that I was looking for like a full-time career, and $10 an hour a full-time career doesn't make. So I think he beat me to the punch on that one. And I still struggled after that, trying to find out what I was going to do. And I don't know if it was a great idea for the owner to fire me or to let me go, but I actually ended up starting an iPhone repair as well as a computer repair store out of the bedroom of the apartment I lived in. And I grew that. iPhone repair was really big at that time. And I grew that from $1,000 my first month in business to, I think within the first year, I was doing around $6,000 a month. And then I found my business partner, or my business partner and I found each other at that time through a mutual friend, as well as he saw me post on Craigslist. The power of Craigslist. I'll get into the power of social media later, because I found so many great connections through like Facebook and Craigslist marketplace.
Brendan, on your website, this business called FYXIT.
Yeah, so that was the business. Yeah.
You say FYXIT, my first successful business, the tale of how I went from a drug user dealing with addiction to a successful business owner.
Yeah, that's a story in itself. So, after graduating college and really not having too much going on, living on a college campus with a lot of these kids, I would call them now, going to concerts, doing drugs, smoking weed, drinking, rolling on Molly. I participated in a lot of that, extracurricular activities. And, I was definitely someone who got caught up with that, and it became, my lifestyle. I remember, a whole week where, I probably was high half the time, and ultimately it's not sustainable. It's not something that puts you ahead in life. And I was able to ease off as I shifted more focus onto my business, and my business built momentum. So I guess the biggest advice I have for anyone that's trying to get out of that is, to find something that is constructive and build upon that. And ultimately focusing on FYXIT led us to become a business that almost did around $1 million in annual revenue. We had, I think, at our peak around 14 employees. It's still running. It's still doing quite decent. I see passive income. I think after I left, I saw passive income of close to $50,000 a year from a 80-20 split with my business partner. We were 50-50 business partners before I left to work on new ventures. And it was a great experience learning to hire people, manage people. I hired friends. I had to fire friends. And I don't think I learned my lesson after that, because I still hire friends and fire friends. I have the heart, and I also sometimes I have to put the business first as well. So that was, I could go more into detail if you would like. I did sell a little bit of marijuana on the side just to support my addiction. Buy an ounce and sell the gram, and get to smoke for free. And
always the businessman, it sounds like.
Yeah, I was always the businessman, and frankly, that taught me the value of being the person who can connect people to the deal, the plug. Being the plug, you can generate value. It taught me the idea of like what wholesaling is, even though I wasn't a true wholesaler. But there's value in different levels of the supply chain, and usually all the value is built off relationships. Friends trust friends. Friends don't want to buy from random people. So that taught me a lot in business.
Oh my gosh, you got business lessons.
I got a lot of business lessons from smoking weed.
How do you look back on those days now?
I wish, if I knew everything I knew now, I would have done things differently. I would have started my entrepreneurial journey earlier. And, ultimately, I'm someone who knows that you can't change the past, and that you just have to have gratitude for all your experiences. So when I look back on those experiences, I am truly grateful for all the highs and lows. I feel like those moments define you. They're kind of pivotal moments in your life where you either, sink a little bit lower and you hit rock bottom, or you've already hit, your relative rock bottom, and it's time to start climbing back up. Because there's only two ways to go in life: up or down, or stagnate. But in my opinion, stagnation is slowly declining, because everyone should be growing. If you're not growing, you're dying in ways.
So you have a really cool business today. Do you want to talk about that, or do you want to talk about Market U, where it seems like you learned a lot once again?
Yeah. So we can go in sequential order, just for the timeline's sake. So after working on FYXIT for, I think, around 4 years, I started to get bored. And I think this is a quality of a lot of entrepreneurs. If you're doing the same thing over and over, you're going to want to do something different and at least innovate and grow. And I wanted to grow the business. I wanted to expand the operations to another local college campus, Bloomington, Illinois, from Champaign. And my business partner was a little bit more risk adverse. We both identified that the industry as a whole was in a decline. Like, phones were getting harder and more expensive to fix. Computers were also getting a little bit more expensive and harder to fix, with a lot of components being soldered onto the hardware, which made it much less modular. And you couldn't just switch out a broken hard drive. You would have to replace like an entire motherboard with a solid state that's soldered in. And it's more true now than ever. With the new iPhones, I think a lot of the hardware is coded per device. So like, you can't switch out the screen without Apple saying nope. it's not a original screen, and this is not Apple certified, and it's not going to work. And so for me, that didn't work out. My business partner was a little bit more risk adverse, didn't want to grow, and wasn't like as ambitious enough to want to grow that and try to pivot along the way, which, is part of a great business. Is like, you can't just rely on, I think I can use HP as an example. HP, their first big success was like the multifunctional printer. And, they had to get into computers, they had to get into all these other verticals to continue to evolve as a company. And you look at Amazon, they started as a bookstore, and now they're this powerhouse of a e-commerce business, as well as their AWS division, which is huge. I think the largest in the industry when it comes to servers. So back to Market U, I got bored. I started, doing some side projects, like helping our clients at FYXIT develop websites, and help with their branding and their online presence. And I was just like, oh, well, there could be something here. And then I met this one individual who solicited me for business. He wanted to manage our social media. His name was Andrew as well. Both my business partners' names at FYXIT and Market U were Andrew. And I was sold on, this dream of starting a digital marketing agency. And this young guy was super ambitious. He was like 21 years old at the time, I believe. And he was a grinder, and I felt like he was someone who could carry me, and that was a big mistake. I actually ended up carrying the team instead. But a lot of us as business owners, as entrepreneurs, the reason why we're able to solve for these complex problems is because we have that quality of laziness that makes us want to work smarter instead of harder. And I thought I was working smarter by hiring someone that was willing to work super hard, and I could just teach him what I knew and pass on a lot of those lessons I have learned in working with clients. And we grinded it out for a year. I ended up quitting FYXIT, did that 80-20 split with Andrew, and I worked with this new Andrew for the next year. And I think the biggest problem was he wasn't a seasoned entrepreneur. And a lot of times when you're not seasoned, you're spinning your wheels. You're trying to make a problem a lot more complex than it is, and you're trying to bite off more than you can chew. And I'm just gonna say slow and steady wins the race oftentimes. And every idea is a good idea if you execute it well. So that's my advice to entrepreneurs that are spinning their wheels. A lot of the ideas that you've had in the past probably were great ideas. You just didn't execute on a consistent basis. It's just like you look at YouTubers. You're not gonna see your millionth subscriber until you hit your first 1,000, and then 10,000, and then 100. And that's the same thing with business. My business partner, Andrew, at Market U, wanted to be $1 million business the first year. And he was just looking at scale. And he was neglecting the clients that were willing to pay us the $1,500 a month, the $2,000 a month. And he was trying to land $10,000 clients. And it's all about building momentum. Momentum is one of the most powerful forces in the market, whether it's your business or you look at a company that's growing on the stock market. Like, momentum is insane. That's why Tesla has 8x in the last year, and why a lot of these companies like Apple have truly triumphed is because they just built upon their momentum. And I was more focused on how do I take care of my clients. What I learned at FYXIT, like, always just take care of your clients, and the score will settle itself. Your clients will be your best advocates. They'll refer you clients, and even if it compounds at 10%, that's huge, especially if it's over the course of years.
It sounds like you can't force the growth.
Yeah, you can't, especially if you're new to it. It's like wanting to get jacked overnight. Everyone that bodybuilds, and I'm not in the best shape, so I can't be talking like a pro, but I know I have friends that are super well, in shape, and it's consistency. It's just showing up, whether you like it or not. It's showing up every day, putting your best foot forward. Some days you're going to have off, you're not going to be as hot, but it's just about being consistent.
And in the case with your business partner, it sounds like your initial gut instinct didn't prove out. Did it take a while to trust your gut again?
Yeah, I was definitely in a slump after that year. So after like a full year, we had gone in office. We had done 6 figures together. A lot of the revenue, I believe, I did a lot of the legwork on, because I was more focused on the dirt rather than the clouds. Like this concept of being $1 million business in my first year, and he quit. I had invested a lot of my time, a lot of meetings, a lot of late night sessions of talking about what we could do. I felt like I helped him grow a lot, and I know I have, because he's messaged me after, since then, and oftentimes he's just like, dude, I can't tell you how much I appreciate, the time we shared around Market U, and what he's learned. And it definitely left me high and dry when someone that you've invested over a year of time and energy into developing says, hey, I'm going to try to do something on my own. And I'm just like, dude, but I gave you everything. It's kind of like the relationship where, like your girlfriend or someone, your best friend, just stops, just says, hey, I'm doing my own thing now. And you're like, what? Where did this come from? And, it's, now I can see the signs a lot better when it comes to like my employees, or kind of just the relationships I have around me, when they're when they're kind of evolving and changing. And yeah, I was definitely a little bit bitter. I actually, before he left, I paid for him to go out to Los Angeles, because I was actually bankrolling most of the operations, and I paid for him to learn from one of the mentors that he introduced us to, Jeremy Haynes, Megalodon Marketing. And Jeremy Haynes is great. He manages the personal brand for Dan Lok, who I think grew from six figures to like a million plus in monthly revenue as a personal brand. And it was upsetting, and it definitely made me not want to invest as much into people. And I was a little bit, I had a lull where I slept in, I drank, I partied. I was just trying to figure myself out for the next 3, 4, 5, 6 months. And then luckily I had, along the way, and this is where you should always be investing in yourself and your peers and people you believe in. Colby, my business partner now, who along the way during Market U, he actually lost his job at Ehang, which is a Chinese drone company. And he invited me out and he said, hey, you should come out here and check out what I got going on. I know you've been consulting me along the way. And I think this is something that we could really scale together. And I think there's an opportunity here. So I was in Champaign, bumming around, just trying to figure myself out, just maintaining the status quo. I think I had 1 or 2 more clients trickle in from Market U. And Colby was just like, come check out what I got going on. And I flew out to San Francisco and with an open mind, potential opportunity for new beginnings. And I saw that what he had built so far, on his own and a little bit with my consultations, was super cool.
Yeah. What did you find when you went out there? What was happening, and what was the opportunity that you saw?
So a little bit background about Aerial Canvas and what it is. It's a end-to-end real estate marketing solution. And what that means is we deliver next day turnaround on photos, video, drone, 3D Matterport, dedicated listing websites, everything in real estate agents or someone in the real estate industry would need to differentiate their brand and to get more exposure. And we deliver all those assets next day with a dedicated team. Currently, we have a team of over 65 in the States and a team of 100 if you include our virtual assistants and our editing team overseas. So that's a little bit about Aerial Canvas. But what I found when I first went out was I found an individual who was building something and believed in what he was building, and that took care of his clients. And that was in beautiful California. And when you're coming out from the Midwest where it snows and it rains to Redwood City was where he lived at the time. And the town slogan is best climate by government test. You got something going. And there's sometimes the grass is greener on the other side. And when I went out there, I was just like, man, the weather here is amazing. You get to shoot video and photos and fly drones and get paid for it. How cool is that?
That does sound fun. And the target market, the California real estate market is hot. You've got a potential client who can afford to pay for services. Exactly.
And there's a spectrum everywhere. There's definitely a luxury market even in towns like Tulsa. We have software partners. We actually developed a custom software at Aerial Canvas in partnership with John, who is out in Thailand as a digital nomad coding every day. And we licensed out the software to a company in Tulsa, which their average home is not even a third of the price of the average listing in San Francisco Bay Area, and they're still doing tremendously. I think their target revenue this year is $700,000, and I think this is their third full year in business. So there's opportunity everywhere. There's a need for these services everywhere, but California is definitely the best market for what we're looking to offer, which is an all-inclusive package. What we did differently was there's all these companies that are established that offer these services, and they offer them through like subcontracting the work, which you're able to definitely scale quickly with that model. However, you can never truly get the benefits of having an in-house team where you can refine their skill set. You can develop their skill set further and really truly take that product that you're offering to the next level, um, as well as having in-house employees that we're giving volume work to, and we're able to pretty much wholesale their labor and their efforts to our clients, because they're going to a listing and they're able to shoot photos, video, 3D Matterport, drone, all at the same time, as opposed to a conventional company. They might have like 3 people show up, and they're losing a lot of efficiency gains from like the travel time that 3 individuals may be taking, as well as they're not able to truly bundle a package solution where you can say, hey, because we have one person trained on everything, or we're sending out 2 because you have a larger listing, you're going to get the benefits of all of these products at a package at a wholesale rate.
Well, your services are very cool. And I think that our listener probably knows the power of great photography or very strong video, especially in real estate. But I think just someone's social media feed, when you have great images and great video, that's how you build an audience. And I imagine that the real estate agents, it's a very competitive business when you can differentiate yourself through, I took a look at the Aerial Canvas website. You've got cinematic video, which I first saw several years ago, like for weddings. You see these like cinema-like wedding videos, but you guys are offering that on these beautiful homes and properties. So what was the issue when you first went out to visit Colby? He had the start of a business, but was his issue that he didn't have capacity?
I would say he wasn't sure how he was going to grow. When I joined him, he had credit card debt from investing on all this hardware and equipment.
That's cameras and gear.
Cameras, the 3D Matterport camera, as well as the drones. And he was just ramping up. This was when I met up with him. He was just starting to break the $10,000 a month revenue, and we had met when I had worked on FYXIT back in Champaign. And he had moved out to California, worked at EHONG, and then that company closed down because they got put out of business by DJI, which is the Apple of their industry, the drone industry. And he didn't know how to scale the business. He saw that I was able to grow a business to a dozen individuals, and I had the experience, and I also had the experience with marketing and branding. And so he was looking for a business partner. And that's kind of the best time to look for a business partner, is when you do start seeing more work than you can handle, and an opportunity for growth where you need capital. And I was someone who still had capital to invest. And after that month, it took a little bit of deciding, because I had lived in Champaign for 10 years and I was ready to move out, but it was still a big decision because I had a lot of friends in Champaign, Illinois, and a lot of connections. I was a fairly big fish in a small pond, and I would be moving to become a minnow in an ocean. And I took the leap of faith. I said, hey, I want to change things up. I want to invest. And I actually started off by investing my time. I could have invested money, but when you don't know really where to allocate the funds because you don't really understand the business, and you don't really truly know the best way to scale the business yet, and neither did Colby, it was best for me to just work on a business. So I worked on a business for for free for the first 3 months, just to show Colby what I was capable of bringing to the table. And then I negotiated with him an investment. I put in $50,000 and all the time I worked as well. And I said, like, hey, let's go 50-50. And I actually gave him 50% of Market U as well. If we were to expand that venture together, we would be 50-50 partners there as well. So he taught me a lot just right away. I learned how to shoot photos and videos of houses, something that if I were to try to learn on my own would have taken a lot of time. And then we were boots on the ground. We did a lot of the legwork, a lot of the sales. We hired our first employee, which was Allison. She's still with us today as our operations manager. And we grew the business slowly and surely. We doubled down. I ended up investing another $150,000 into the business, pretty much everything I had. My bank account was pretty much drained at the end of 2019.
Was that scary?
Yeah, it was super scary, actually.
Or did you have a lot of confidence because you had been working on this already?
Yeah, I would say I had confidence because, I like to think I'm the person who doesn't make stupid investments, though I have definitely in the past where, I've lost money on stocks or, I've definitely bought into the Bitcoin bubble back in 2017, and I'm still in Bitcoin right now, which we can talk about later. So what ended up happening with doubling down was I saw the business build momentum. We went from 10,000 to 15 to 20 to 40. I think our best month, our first half year in business was 40,000. I was just like, yeah, we can really do something here. And then our second year, we ramped up from our slowest month in December, which is always slow. It's like half the amount of business. Like we went from 20,000 in January all the way to 50 to 80 to 150 to 200,000, over 200,000 our second full year in business. And I was just like, wow, we need capital. We need money to capture all this opportunity. We need more employees. We need more team members to help facilitate the work. And we were leveraged. I sold all my stocks. I put in all my savings into the business. I wanted to grow this as fast as possible because you always got to strike when the iron's hot. Otherwise, there's other people that are ready to do the same thing. And I had invested 200,000 in 2019, and I bit off more than I can chew. It was quite scary, actually. So with the real estate market, there's a lot of seasonality. When it's November and December, you're talking about a third the number of listings, if not sometimes even a fourth, because people are, celebrating Thanksgiving and Christmas and New Year's with their families, and no one's really trying to buy real estate. The real estate market's more hot during the summers where families have time, that have kids. They don't have school. They have the opportunity to move and not have, a weird transition, like trying to transition their kids into a new school the middle of the year. So December of 2019 was brutal. November was it was scary. I had to borrow money from my dad, my family, my parents, my sister. I think we had borrowed close to 180,000 on top of the 200,000 I had invested, and all to sustain our overhead and the number of employees we had hired in going into 2019, preparing for 2020. And ultimately it proved to be a good decision because 2020 was our best year yet. We closed out this last year with $4.9 million of revenue, up from 1.7, I think not even 1.7 in 2019. So we did almost a triple on our revenue. And this year we're looking to double. We're looking to hit around 10 million.
Did the pandemic have a big positive impact on your business?
It definitely shifted the industry a little bit further. I think a lot of industries were accelerated during this time. Video conferencing and working remotely and it definitely changed the landscape where virtual tours, like having a website with, a cinematic video tour of the house, as well as a 3D Matterport where you can walk through and really understand the layout of a house in 3D in real time at the convenience of your fingertips through a phone or computer. It wasn't as readily adopted or accepted until COVID hit, where people were like, okay, well, we can no longer do these showings, or we can only show the house, one person at a time or one family at a time. And it really increased adoption. I wouldn't say it changed it dramatically. I would say maybe it gave like a 10 to 20% lift on the products, on the service, on the utility of the tools that we were selling, the digital assets. But we definitely took a big hit at first when they did like the complete shutdown, the complete stay at home order. And we were just starting to ramp up, and then all of a sudden we weren't sure if we were going to have lunch on the table the next day. We had to furlough all of our employees in one day because they said, hey, you cannot be out. And we had to drive to a house to shoot it, right? And so we were just starting to ramp up too. We were just starting to be flow positive and start paying back our loans. And then all of a sudden, boom, no revenue potentially. And my sister was just like, hey, I'm not even expecting to get paid back anytime soon when we first shut down. And luckily, they deemed real estate as an essential business. And as, photographers and service providers in real estate, we were able to get back to work within that month. And we had our best months during 2020.
Did you eventually end up hiring everybody back?
Yeah, so we hired everyone back right away, and everyone was super understanding, and we were willing to put everyone first. But everyone also understood, like, if the business did not survive, and if we truly were to go bankrupt, that there wouldn't be a job anyways. So there's no point of like trying to take the last couple nickels from the bank account. We were already over leveraged, and luckily we had our best months after that. I think right before COVID in March, we did like 300, and then we dipped down to 200 in April. And then I think we had like around 2 to 3 weeks where we weren't sure if we could work, and we actually halted all shoots for like over a week. And we ran right back up. We did like 400 in May, I think, and then 500, and then I think we hit around 640,000 in like the middle of in August or so. And we were able to pay back all of our debt, as well as I was able to take back all of my initial investment. And it was a nice year. And now, the company is debt free, and we're going into 2021 with a great team, a lot of expansion efforts. We're now in Los Angeles, as well as Sacramento, and we expanded into San Diego in the middle of 2020. We have a team of 10 there, and then we're also going to be in Salt Lake City this month as well, since we have a brokerage partnership that really wanted us out there to support them, since they weren't happy with who they're currently working with on the media side of real estate.
Congratulations. You had a heart stopper there in 2020.
Yeah, it was super scary, man. Like, I remember like 3 days into the quarantine, I was just like, bro, we got to pivot. Like, we got these guys on our team. They know how to sell. Like, what's still like running right now? Like, what can we pivot into, like, with our team? Like, and my business partner, Colby, his brother runs a security company, and they were booming at the time because, home security, like if you're at home all the time and, you definitely want to heighten that home security, right?
Yeah, because you don't have to be real estate. You could go into like, I don't know, corporate, like different corporate work. I don't know, but
yeah, there definitely was a scramble to want to pivot to see, like, if this economy is shut down and there's only a certain amount of industries that are actually, thriving with the shutdown. Like, what are those industries? And we were thinking about different ways we could still pivot, but to pivot a team of, I think, around 30 at that time was still quite difficult. There's a lot of training new skill sets that in new industries we did not know ourselves. It was almost a pipe dream. The minute we realized we could get back to work, we were like, oh, thank God. Because I don't know if I really wanted to start a home security company.
Brendan, how do you manage the 65 in-house employees with the 35 plus virtual professionals? How do you balance all of that?
It's having trust in your team and developing your team to a point where that they will execute on a high level. It might not ever be to the ability that you feel like you can, which I feel like a lot of entrepreneurs and business owners and artists and just a lot of people that have pride in their work, they're like, well, I can just do it myself and I can do it better. But if you want to grow a business, if you want to grow a team, you have to develop the trust and just be willing to be okay with a team that gets the work that needs to be done. And can I do a lot of things better myself? Yeah, I'm sure I can. I don't want to be that person anymore because that's not scalable. I only have in a crazy week like 80 hours, 100 hours to dedicate, and I have a team of 65 in the States that if I could improve their efficiency or their growth, if I can help them grow 10%, that's such a better return on investment of my time. And, I'm at a point where we have 8 department managers and leads that manage their team, like their department, like our operations team, our project management team, our photography team that we call creative specialists, our editing team. We have managers in place that have been with us for quite a bit now, and that understand the roles and responsibilities and how each department works together. And yesterday, actually, we had Canvas Day 2021, which is our it's our company day where we went. We did the year in review of 2020 as well as our goals and vision for 2021. And it was a 3-hour all hands on deck meeting where we celebrated the wins of our team. We gave out, certificates of excellence and bonuses. And we introduced a 401k. We introduced new benefits, more paid holidays, and just really painting the vision of how our team works as a company, as a family, as a unit. And helping everyone see that is how you manage a team well. Having good culture. And when I say good culture, I mean like celebrating people's wins, holding each other accountable for, our shortcomings, and, just making sure that we're putting our best foot forward every day. We're looking to always improve. And that's the glue is the culture that we've developed at Aerial Canvas, where everyone on our team wants to be better, that wants to grow. And, I don't have to manage. I took my first full week off when I came out to work remotely here in Medellin, Colombia for this month. And it was awesome. The minute where you realize you can, this came from when I started FYXIT, like when my business partner and I went to Vegas together and went to we went to Florida together for a few days or for a week. We were like, wow, the business is running on its own without us. This is amazing.
That is
and that's
success.
when you actually have a business and you're not just like working in the business and a slave to your own business, is when you can walk away, take time for yourself. And I think that's an amazing part of being a part of a larger organization is, you have a team to support you when things get tough, if you run into personal issues, if you need to take time for yourself, and you know that your team's got your back. And we've been lucky enough to have two aerial canvas babies, as in like two of our team members just started their families, and we're actually evolving. We're not just a bunch of kids, running around, with cameras. We're actually a legit organization with a 401k and a career path that everyone can grow with. And so I think that's how I manage. I've helped build a team. We've built together a team that essentially takes care of business.
That's great. Sounds like a great culture.
Yeah. So we're stoked about it. I think after our Canvas Day 2021, everyone was very excited about the new year.
As an entrepreneur who has gone all in investing in your business, you've also mentioned investing in stocks, investing in Bitcoin.
Yeah.
How do you view money?
Yeah, that's interesting because I actually finally was able to get back into the market. I took out my initial investment. I took out around just over six figures, like around October. And I dumped it into Tesla and Bitcoin, and I'm up over like 250%. I was lucky enough to buy Tesla on the dip during March with my Roth IRA, and I'm up like 400% on that, 500%. It's crazy.
If that happened every day, who needs drones?
Yeah, exactly. I'm always joking with like my peers. I was like, I don't even have to work. Like my portfolio goes up. Like if it goes up 5%, it's going up like over $10,000 in a day. And it's just like it makes money a new kind of concept where it's no longer a currency or a tool for just like your basic needs and survival. It's a tool for doing good or doing bad. Are you going to blow it on a boat and a Maserati and something that you don't really need, that doesn't really add true value to your life? Or are you going to spend it on, your retirement, your investments, or are you going to spend it on your company, or investing in yourself, like doing something that taking care of yourself? I think this trip to Medellin was much needed because it was a time for me to just take a breather from business, because I had worked, probably on average 65, 70 hours every week for the last 2 years before this. There was weeks I worked 100 hours. There was weeks I did take it easy and worked 50, but I worked like on average 70 hours for the last 2 years, and I was willing to put in the work. And money now is like a tool for doing so much more with my life. I want to make like better investments. I want to invest in the right places. I might invest more into aerial canvas if there's an opportunity that presents itself where we can. Right now we're growing as fast as we can, so even if I dump money, it's just like it's kind of like where do I spend it? Like, would I even spend it wisely?
Are you fearless? Because it sounds like you're not afraid of concentrated positions.
Yeah, I am currently. My portfolio is 60% Tesla and 30% Bitcoin, and crypto. I think I have like 10% Ethereum, as well as some alternative cryptocurrencies. I wouldn't call it fearless. It's more so like you just have to pick a few good winners and you'll be set. Like I know that there's investment advice, like you don't have to be right 100% of the time. You just have to be right 2-3 times to win. And if you look at any seasoned entrepreneur, they didn't diversify right away. They doubled down, tripled down, like quadrupled down on their business. They literally, like, I'm always going to refer to Elon because he's like my mentor in ways, but he put everything on the line for SpaceX and Tesla, where he was down to his last like a couple millions of dollars, which is a lot to most people. But, I think he exited PayPal with close to 200 million, right? So, it's how am I going to position this? When opportunity meets like preparation, like that's where you win. Like there's always going to be opportunities. It's about setting yourself up for the opportunity. And when that opportunity slaps you in the face and you're like, okay, this is something that's going to be potentially huge, just taking the leap of faith, because nothing's a sure thing. People think that real estate is a sure thing. It's not. Like, for all you know, you could have missed a few things on the paperwork or forgot to pay your insurance or something. I don't know. I don't know enough about like buying and selling real estate yet, because I'm not in that part of the real estate industry. But like, you could lose a lot. If the paperwork's not done right, or if you didn't have like homeowners insurance and you were over leveraged or something, you could lose it all as well. And same with like starting something that's super safe, like buying a gas station or a convenience store. Is it actually the right move? Because it's at a cost. It's always at a cost. There's always an opportunity cost with everything. And for me, I wouldn't say I'm fearless. I'm just confident that I'm willing to make those big bets. And if I lose out, so be it. And if I win, that's freaking awesome. Now I have more capital that I can invest in my future, and maybe invest in my family in the future. And so it's, for me, it's about knowing your appetite for risk. And the best time to take risk is when you're young, because if I lost everything on this Tesla bet and Tesla just collapsed, which I think is very unlikely since they're sitting on a decent amount of cash and they're industry leaders right now. And if Bitcoin collapse, I have everything that I've invested in myself, my skill set. Like, even if Aerial Canvas failed tomorrow, I can go into a corporation or a company with my expertise in consulting, in management, in leadership, in problem solving, and I know I will be able to land a 6-figure job. So what do I have really to worry about that I lost? I'm more worried about losing out on a good opportunity.
I love it. It's an interesting perspective, because if you think about it, you bet on yourself, you bet on Aerial Canvas, you bet on Tesla, you bet on Bitcoin. It's concentrated positions, but you have diversification among those 4 things. What are the odds that all 4 are going to blow?
Exactly.
So you do the research and you bet big.
Exactly. It's calculated risk. And my first calculated risk was I actually lost, when I was working at FYXIT, I lost $40,000 in one day on a huge bet. I was doing well in stocks, and I was just like, oh, this is so easy. I just got to do my research and, invest in good companies and like look at where, other people are investing. And there was this company called Novavax, which did have a huge pump this year. I think they had a 40x pump this year because of COVID, but they're a biopharmaceutical company, and they were trying to solve, for a disease that was very prevalent. And even even Bill Gates, like the Gates and Melinda Foundation, like Bill Gates and his wife invested 83 million. And I was just like, they definitely did their due diligence. This is a for sure thing. And I dumped like $50,000 on this bet, and I probably had $70,000 in my name at that time. And overnight, I had my stop losses, because I was just like, oh, in case it goes down, those stop losses triggered when the stock got cut, 85%.
Ouch.
In a flash, because it was a binary event. And I actually I made some money on the dead cat bounce, which means like when a stock drops dramatically, it usually bounces up a little bit, because people think it's oversold. And I put that into another biopharmaceutical where it also started going down, and I was just like, oh my God, I didn't even like, that's the first time I lost a lot of money. And that's the first time I'm just like, okay, like if I'm gonna play it like this, like I have to like like I grew the stomach for an appetite of risk when I lost $40,000. And I actually ended up writing this other biopharmaceutical back past my original position. And I was able to Forex on this other biopharmaceutical, AUPH, Arenia. I can't say it that well. And essentially, I was back in the positive, and I exited the stock market. I said, hey, this is too much for me. It's taking away too much focus. It's like when you have that big positions, you start looking at your charts every day. Like you wake up, you look at the chart. You take your lunch break, you look at the chart. You're sitting on the toilet, you're looking at the chart. And like my business partner actually sold out on Bitcoin recently because he was looking at the charts too much, and he had a huge position in it. That's something to be wary of. Like, you can make a lot of money on the stock markets, especially in this economy where there's so much liquidity and there's so much just cash being printed, and everyone has nowhere to put. Like, everyone's only has one place to put their money right now, because the bonds are at an all-time low, and the yields there's no interest rates, and everyone's just like, oh, stocks,
Bitcoin. Play. You gotta play.
And it's I don't know when my positions are to exit, because I don't have any right now, which probably is terrible for a seasoned investor. But I rode Bitcoin up and down back in 2017, and I was along for the ride, and when you buy something you believe in, you should just hold. Like, as long as the fundamentals don't change, you should hold. And I actually did buy Tesla back in 2017, but I sold everything to invest into Aerial Canvas, and it was a great bet. Our business since I joined has grown from just a $10,000 a month business, like a 6-figure business, to now this year hopefully a 8-figure business. So it's super exciting when it comes to investing. It's just you have to be willing to risk it all to get it all. That's life. Like, there's opportunity cost everywhere. Like, when you go to college, you're taking the risk and saying this next 4 years is a better investment than going out into the workforce, or like trying to find a mentor and just learning from them and getting paid. Like, how much is that actually costing you? Have you done the math? You're putting in 50,000 a year for a private institution. I think more now, right? Like 60,000. It's crazy if you include room and board. So like $250,000 on top of that, the opportunity cost of not making money and not developing yourself in a career, where there's so many companies that are willing to hire, without a college education. And it's about placing your bets, like, even at a small company, like, or at a company like Tesla, if you worked on the factory floor, I'm pretty sure you got some level of stock options. And if you worked there for 5 years and got like 20K worth of stock options, this year that 20K would be worth $250,000. You placed your bets. You worked for a company you believed in, right?
It doesn't make a strong argument for college. Brendan, I'm going to say that you are fearless. I like to ask all the Inspired Money guests, how do you define success?
So success is, for me personally, it's growth. It's being just knowing you're growing is success to me. That's even if you lose on a bet or on an investment or on a deal, or even your company, like, what did you learn from it? And are you growing? Because if you're not, it's you're dying. it's the opposite of growing, right? And it's not with age. It's more with mindset. Like, as long as I'm developing my mindset and focused on myself, and I have a good balance, I think that's something that I'm definitely striving for this year, is a good balance, because I definitely have neglected my health, as in, like, I haven't exercised as much as I should be in the last 2 years. And I haven't really given too much attention to my romantic relationship side of life. And having that balance, I think, is success for me in the future. But for me right now, what success is just beating out my competition, closing out more deals, and taking big bets and winning on those bets. And as long as that keeps happening, that sounds pretty successful to me. But I think for people that are listening, like, success is whatever you define it. Everyone is seeking happiness, right? Everyone is seeking. I think everyone wants to be successful in some way, depending on just where you are on the spectrum of what you define success. Like, no one wants to be unsuccessful. It's just, like, unless you're, unless you just are depressed, and definitely seek out help if you are. Success is something that everyone wants, and it's whatever you want to define it. If it is working a 9 to 5 and having a family and raising a family to their potential, that's success, man. Like, don't let anyone tell you otherwise. Don't compare yourself to your peers, because it's easy to get caught up in that game. Like, if you wanted to compare yourself on, like, money, dude, like, you're gonna have to catch Elon Musk. It's gonna be hard. Like, it's so for those who are listening, like, success is whatever you define it. It's whatever you want from life. If you want to be a Buddha or a monk, and that's success for you, and you want to have spiritual enlightenment, that's success. For me, it's being the absolute best in the industry, being the Tesla of our industry, always innovating, always growing, always taking care of business and my team. I would definitely want to see everyone right there with me at the top, for those who are putting in the work. And that success is seeing everyone around me win. And that's exciting. And just being generous, I think, is part of what I define success as, having that mentality of abundance rather than scarcity, because it's easy to get caught up in scarcity when there's not enough going around. And the only way to truly be happy is to feed that good side, which is, I think there's this one story, I think I'll wrap up with this, and it's something that really helped me when I was depressed, and I got out of relationships. There's two situations in life. There's the ones, this is, I think, from Wayne Dyer. He's amazing. If you guys haven't checked him out, you should. Wayne Dyer said there's two situations in life. There's situations you can control and situations you can't. If you can control it, take control, and you have nothing to worry about. If you can't control it, let it go, and you have nothing to worry about. And that feeds into one more thing, which is like feeding the good wolf and bad wolf. There's a Cherokee family, and the elders telling us the story of the two wolves to his son. And essentially, he said there's two wolves within us. There's a good wolf and there's a bad wolf, and they're always fighting. And the good wolf represents, generosity, represents compassion, empathy, care, love. And the bad wolf represents greed. It represents, arrogance. It represents, all of these negative things. And the Cherokee son asked, well, which wolf wins? And the elder replied, it's the wolf that you feed. And so we all have this narrative in our mind, and we have to always identify if that narrative is positive or negative, or if it's helping us, or if it's holding us back. And just keep feeding the good wolf, and you'll be successful.
I love it. Feeding the good wolf. Well, thank you, Brendan. Thank you for sharing your entrepreneurial journey, and congratulations on your recent investment success. Can you tell the Inspired Money listener where they can learn more about Aerial Canvas and follow you?
Yeah, definitely. If you want to check out our website, it's aerialcanvas.com, spelled AERIAL. It's tricky because some people spell it like the Disney princess and some people spell it like the font. And I'm just like, oh, why? I should have came up with a different name.
That's why you went to college.
Yeah, exactly. And essentially, we got our name because it's like we think of ourselves as like, Colby started off as a drone pilot, in real estate. And we thought of ourselves as, artists in the sky. And if you want to check out, what I got going on, you can add me on LinkedIn. My name is Brendan Shu, BrendanHSU. And I also have a website, brendanshu.com, where, I've written a little bit of about myself, as well as, the lessons I'm trying to pass on in life. And it's my form of giving back. And you can add me on Instagram. I'm on Facebook as well. So feel free to add me if you want to do business together. If you want to just chit chat, I'm always down to chat with other entrepreneurs.
I'll get all the links in the show notes. And thanks, Brendan. It was awesome meeting you.
Yeah, you're super welcome. Thank you so much for having me. This has been a blast.
Thank you so much for watching to the end of this interview. What was your favorite inspired money moment? I love what Brendan talked about when he said that investing so that your money is no longer a currency or tool for survival, but something that you can choose to do good or bad with. I also like that he talked about looking at any seasoned entrepreneur. They didn't diversify right away. They doubled down, tripled down, quadrupled down on what they were working on. And lastly, a willingness to bet big and to do so when you're young because you have less to lose. All really valuable lessons. If you had a different favorite inspired money moment, please leave a comment below. I'd love to hear where you are in your journey and what takeaways you got out of this conversation.